mean, they could be a big upstart in the world, right?
It could. I think more interesting to the U.S. should be ASEAN,
right.
And that is, I don't think many Americans are very aware of it, but it's, of course, it's the Southeast Asian version of the European Union.
Right.
10 countries getting together, economically, culturally, socially, becoming very integrated, opening borders, and that's going to end up with a population, if you put those countries together, about 700 million people.
Mm-hmm. Twice the size of the U.S.
Right. That's a reckoning force even against the Chinese.
Sure.
So as we see that, I think this region, especially Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and of course Singapore has been on the map for a long time.
Right.
But these countries, especially those in ASEAN, are going to be a major player. And unfortunately, I think for a lot of Americans, we don't even know. Here's something for you. Usually when I tell people back at home where I work, they say, "Oh, they speak Taiwanese in Thailand." No, Taiwan is a separate country. There's just very, very little global awareness, I think, of a lot of Americans.
I say this all the time, everywhere I go in America. I mean, just give you an idea, here at my own school, they don't even allow me to do a presentation. Of all the work that I've gone to something like 110 schools throughout the world, 16 countries. Never been allowed to share my information with my own colleagues in my own school. So I did a presentation for our top superintendents and assistant superintendents, what we call our cabinet, our top 10 of our 40,000 student school district, and I was given comments after my presentation like, are you here to propose a Chinese agenda to us, right? So the ignorance that seems so pervasive, but it just seems to me a complete, almost lack of global awareness, as though the world still revolves around the U.S. And I think both you and I know, Jeff, that might have been in the past, but it's no longer.
It's not. And if you look at any, whether we're talking about developing or fully developed countries that are doing well in economy, in socioeconomics, in education, they're all doing one thing, and that is they're learning from others.
Right.
They're learning from their own mistakes, and they're learning from other countries.
Right.
We don't have to adopt everything that everyone else is doing.
Right.
But we simply need to be aware of it and take the positives.
Right.
And if South Korea or Japan is implementing something that's really effective, we should reach out and say, can you help us with that?
Right.
And I think education is an interesting sector because so often it reaches beyond politics. We're able to, even here in Thailand, we have several conflicts going on in this region with Cambodia, with Myanmar. There's even tensions with Laos to the north. Yet our universities are, even in times of real tension,
still working with each other.
Exactly. Right. We're able to look through that. So I think we do need to think about education as a sector that's going to pave a way for the next 10, 20 years.
Right.
For not just our economy, but how our young people feel about the world.
We were talking a little bit about kind of what's going on in the world in terms of universities, and you brought up some points about China. And I've been inside about 12 of their schools in Qingdao. I'll be going back to Shanghai soon, and I'll be visiting another half dozen schools over there probably December. But what do you hear about what's happening? There's a significant rise in the public schools, K through 12 in China. But what about on the university side? What do you?
Well, China, I don't want to say that China is doing everything right. By no means are they, whether we're talking about university or primary. But they are doing some things right, and that is, at the very least, they're putting a financial priority in education. What we're seeing is the government giving a blank check, essentially, to top universities. And they have a very clear vision, and that is to really catch up and overtake the top universities.
Even the top Ivy Leagues.
Top Ivy, I'm talking Harvard, Princeton. Yeah, absolutely.
Stanford.
They have their eyes set on them. Very oftentimes they're recruiting professors right out of those schools. And sometimes they're tripling their salaries
top
to
tenured
tenured teachers. Yeah, wow. Absolutely. and it's because in the realm of their budget, of their national budget, it's a drop in the bucket.
Right.
When it comes to long-term economic development,
Mhm.
they know that higher education comes first. Well, all education,
All education,
of
right.
course.
Right.
But when they're talking about development.